Sam, but now we have Party for Progress. Gotta say good morning to the leader of Party for Progress, PFP, Melissa Gumbs. Good morning to you. How
Good
are you
morning,
today?
Elektra. How are you?
I'm
I'm good.
good,
Yeah.
good. And also joining her is candidate number 10, David Salomon.
Yes, correct.
Uh,
Morning, Elektra. Morning, listening viewers, the listening audience.
Yeah.
all right, great. Well, of course, you were here the last time and we covered a lot of ground, Melissa. And the countdown is definitely on. Of course, everybody is talking about the challenges and the difficulties we are facing currently right now as a political leader and, MP at that as well. What do you have to say to the people? Because people are not feeling good right now. They're tired, they're frustrated. What could you say to them in this capacity as MP and a political leader right now?
Well, right now, Elektra, what I have to say to the people is the same thing I said a couple days ago on a video I made out of frustration, which is, I'm also frustrated. I'm here now in front of you on maybe 3 hours of sleep because GB went from about midnight till about after 3:30 in the morning by me.
Okay.
So with the heat as it is, it's frustrating, and I can only imagine that if I feel this way, our teachers feel that way, our students, our workers in the banks, supermarkets, and restaurants and such. So I think about it all the
I was
time.
just telling my colleague, I said, girl, what's going on with you? She's like, this is like 2 days, no sleep.
Yeah,
Like,
2 days of no sleep. So and
mhm.
it's honestly it's starting it's not just a energy crisis at this point. This is a crisis in every sense of the word.
Yes.
It's a health crisis, a productivity crisis, economic one, because you have persons that are canceling their vacations, canceling stays at Airbnbs and such. And so this is touching every aspect of our society. And for me, that has been the most, that's been what I have been concerned about with this whole situation right now. But I do urge everyone to, just keep hope. And I try to redirect the frustration. A lot of it is targeted at the GB workers, who of course
But
are
that's
not responsible.
no, of
They
course.
at the
I
end of the
commend
day,
them.
yes, you
I'm
have
sure
to
they're working overtime,
precisely more than
going
overtime.
beyond and above.
I have friends and relatives who work for GBE, and some of them are not even sleeping at home.
Mm-hmm,
To be able
mm-hmm.
to finish and to get things back, to get, for example, the container generators, to get them synchronized to the grid carefully, so that when they turn them on, they don't blow the whole grid. That's
Yes,
also a risk.
that's it.
There's not a webcam, it's not a PlayStation. You just plug in something and it goes. It's something careful, a detailed process that has to be followed. So I try to, instead of try to make it political or try to capitalize on it, I just say, stay calm and have patience with the GB workers. Now, when it comes to anybody else, from management, board level, etc., well, that's a fair game, and I think that is where my frustration and anger is directed, because it's just, this is a result of not just the last 14 years, but over 30 years of just poor decision making. And I've said it before, if you continue to put poor characters in to represent you, they will continue to make poor decisions. And it really does boil down to that. It is really as simple as the people that have been placed in positions for whatever reasons by whomever, to not make decisions in the best interest of the whole, but for a select few.
Well, David, I mean, we're hearing what Melissa is saying. Do you think, do you think as a result of these persons that have been placed in certain positions that, the nepotism and the favoritism and all of that, as people would talk about throughout the time, do you think that that's the reason we're here right now?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. And you can only get away with making bad decisions for so long, until they blow up in your face, and that is what we are suffering from now. Um, Years of nepotism, putting the wrong people in place, maneuvering any and everything to get
Yeah.
that person in place, cutting all types of deals in the background, etc. That has brought us here
Yeah.
today, and that's the problem. And you could get away with it for 1 year, 2 years, three maybe, but at some point,
It adds up.
it adds up, and
Compound.
it's gonna blow up. And just like what we're seeing now with the engines as well. So you lost one to start with, adds pressure on all the others. So what happens? Cascading effect. One engine, one problem after the other happening, and that's very unfortunate, and that's where we find ourselves in today. Yeah.
Yes, with the national address with our prime minister yesterday, I think they announced that they're going to look into putting some new managers in place. What are your thoughts about that, Melissa?
Well, to be honest, this is something that we as a faction had already kind of suggested, not just from June, because the timeline is also something I always try to remind people of. We were load shedding from since November last year.
Hmm.
It got worse with the power plant fire on the 2nd of June this year.
Yes.
So the load shedding was already there. My opinion, and again, I've told him this directly as well. It's Mr. Washington was brought in for a very specific crisis, the crisis dealing with the hack, the cyber attack that took down the billing and everything in 2022. That's not this crisis. This is something totally different. So our suggestion was, start to look for persons that have this type of background, specifically from a technical perspective, who have had experience with such an energy crisis before, and you can try to, either bring them on as an advisor. So you don't, if you're not comfortable swapping people out.
We've seen the ads in the paper.
Yeah, well, that is to fill the sea level. That's something that has been ongoing and that was never completed before.
Mhm.
So, and I guess they're going to restart it now. But what we were more suggesting was, if you're going to hire consultants for anything, it should be for advice in this specific type of crisis. St. Martin is a member of CARELEC, which is Caribbean Organization of Electrical Companies, right? Electricity companies. It is nothing to, and this is where we talk about relationship development
Mhm.
and relationship management, and also using those relationships when you need them. It would have taken nothing to, I think, just place a call if you're GBE, or if you're government, to have that conversation with GB from since then, to place a call and see, can we bring on capacity in a consultancy role, an advisory role from within CARELEC to help us navigate through this crisis, because this is bad. As of the Prime Minister's address, we are 4 engines down. 4 engines down, and I'm hoping that what happened with engine 16 is not the crankshaft, because if it is, I can't say the word on air, but we are it. So I think that is something that we also have to consider, the level of failure, and that's why I sent some urgent questions. Well, I'm sending them today to the Prime Minister, that I hope he will be able to answer within at least 48 hours, because it deals with, what level of failure are we at with engine 16? Is it something that is quickly redeemable or fixable, or is it something that is more long term, like the crankshaft? And not to get too technical, but that is something that has to be made. That is something that costs about $1 million. So if it's that, I think we're not going to see the end of this. And I prefer to be realistic with people than to just sell them whatever is going to comfort them. But it's definitely, it's not the GB workers' fault. This is, as David said, the result of decades of just poor decision making.
Well, like you mentioned that we're part of the CARELEC,
Mhm.
Caribbean organizations for electrical companies and stuff like that. But what about, I mean, when we're in hurricane situation, we send out for help. So I'm just thinking, listening to what you're saying as an MP, as a politician, what about getting that extra help? Because we're in trouble. We're
Mhm.
really in trouble.
Mhm.
What about, saying, I don't know if that's had been done or not, reaching out to the Netherlands? I mean, they're like the best in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
What about having these people come for a certain time, helping us, getting us back on track, and then, helping people to understand, to take over and
Yeah.
move forward?
So
I don't
why
know. I'm just
why
thinking
why
out of
my
the box right now.
why my specific suggestion was CARELEC is because they also have the regional experience.
Oh, that too.
At the end of the day,
Because
the
we're
Netherlands
hurricane, yes.
don't deal with the hurricanes. They don't deal
Correct.
with heat
True.
like we do.
That's true.
And that all plays a role. This is climate change, guys. At the end of the day,
Definitely.
the heat leads to increased consumption. People are
Yes.
running 2-3 air conditionings in their home.
Mhm.
Hotels have the AC cranked up to the max for guests. Your freezer is impacted. Everything is working harder to
True.
cool the things that you need cool, whether yourself or your pork chops. So it's that's basically what you're seeing here. So Carolec persons will have that experience
Correct.
with the climate reality of the Caribbean. So that's where my that's where our focus has always been on, using the relations we have within the region to our benefit, and also being able to help them in turn if they will need it. But to find, well, how can we match, or how can we address this with what we deal with here? The Netherlands is, as you said, they're very good in many things. But I think for this specific, very, because we're not the only ones. If you saw the news, I think it was the USVI also had a issue with their own electricity company, where it's the same problems.
Mm-hmm.
Trinidad is having the same issues everywhere. Aruba as well. One of my cousins works at an energy company in Aruba, and she too is like, we are struggling because if you think it's hot here, I mean, I'm sure you've been to Aruba, so
Yes,
you know
yes, for
what the heat is
sure.
like there. So yeah, it's something that we're all dealing with, and that's where the suggestion of Carolec came in, that we need to start as a region pooling those resources and that knowledge, and how can we address the things that only impact us.
Yes, but yes, I kind of agree with you as well in that sense. But with such a huge problem, seeing that a lot of things that are from climate change,
Hmm.
we didn't have anything to do with that. We are just victims in this society. Where it comes to all the things that are happening now with climate
Yeah,
change. I think it's good if we all put our heads
yeah, yeah.
on board to come together for a solution for the region internationally, because it is impacting our economy.
Hmm.
Just the other day, my cousin, she called me up and says, "Hey, I see that there's a notice
Yeah.
out, and this is my cousin that lives in New Jersey." So it doesn't make you feel real good,
Mhm.
No.
knowing that a lot of our tourism products, David, maybe you can jump in here, is brought in from the United States of America. What you say in regards to that?
Yeah, no, it's not good publicity. You see tourists on the various Facebook groups asking all types of
Yeah.
questions like,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, what's going on? Is this normal?" etc. And then, like Melissa mentioned earlier, the effects are bigger than just your lights going
Yeah.
off. There's psychological and mental effects as well. Pair it with the heat, and you have what we're seeing now. It feels the island feels tense. I don't
Yes.
know if you've
Yeah.
been, you drive around, the island feels tense. And you can't blame people because, yeah, you're not getting a restful night's sleep. It's hot. There's a lot of hype and energy going around with the elections. And so it's like it's a bad mix right now.
Yeah.
And so, like Melissa said, we have to try and keep calm as much as possible and look towards solutions. I
Yeah.
think that's where we're at right now as a party. The blame game and finger pointing and politicizing all of it. That's been done. Good. Let's move on and let's focus on solutions. And so that's where I hope that all of us, like, doesn't matter who, that we can come together and really put our energy towards that. And also various avenues, because now the containerized energy is here and it's
Mm-hmm.
being put in place. But where's the renewable energy? Where's the solar branch? I've been a big advocate for solar energy, and I would like to see that avenue explored as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Yes,
You
we
could,
have our neighboring island, Saba,
Yeah.
Statia. They all have
yeah,
solar energy and they're doing great.
Yeah.
yeah, and you could do that in parallel. Have a team dedicated to the
Mm-hmm.
containerized storage, and have a team starting to
Look for the future.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And look, you just mentioned Stacia. They're right there. They have a company that
Reach
came
out.
in.
Yeah.
Reach out. They have battery storage ready to go. I think in a couple of months max. If we had started that along with the containerized energy, we would be having more than one solution being worked on right now. And sure, the solar might not be able to cover, you know, 20 megawatts. Start with one,
Mm-hmm.
start with two.
Yeah.
It's something as opposed to just
Nothing. Yeah.
Looking at
nothing.
Yeah.
one option
Yeah,
only.
yeah.
Okay, well, I'm thinking about all these types of things. As a politician and a leader of a political party, MP as well, Melissa. I'm thinking, you look at the newspaper and there you see looking for a CEO for Telem,
Mhm.
looking for a CEO for
The airport.
the airport,
Mhm.
looking for a CEO for GEBE. I mean, how does that make you feel? I mean, three top positions in our country from three companies that have been really like, wow.
Yeah.
What does that say about our nation as a developing country?
Yeah.
What does that say?
Well, I think
What message?
I mean it's to me it's a normal thing to be on a hunt for C
Hmm.
level persons. I think maybe the circumstances behind why we need to be on a hunt for them is different. So you had like in 2020 they removed the entire C level of GEBE. Um, at the airport, I believe Mr. Mingo has decided not to continue or not to, I guess, pursue a renewal of his contract. Based on what I know from when I started in Parliament, he had a specific mandate that is ending, and I don't think that he's gonna push to renew. And then at Telem, yeah, the supervisory board made a decision based on where we are right now with Telem, which is nowhere good. And I think it's normal. I'm just hoping that we stick to the profiles and that we don't politicize these positions any more than they already have been,
Mm-hmm.
because that's really what the issue is. Nowhere in the world, and Peter Weaver had said it at the time, do you remove a a whole entire C level. You might move a CCO, you might move a CTO, but you do not get rid of everybody at one shot. And that I think goes to a lack of understanding of the types of board members that we put in place at these companies. It's a lack of general understanding of how corporate structure and transition in corporate environments works. And that's fine.
You have a background in
Yes,
corporate, right?
yes. So when I saw that, I said that doesn't make sense. From my own personal experience,
Mm-hmm.
you when you are switching out management, if you want to transition, yes, you can, but to get rid of an entire C level is a little crazy. And again, it shows to what we
And on top of that, government-owned companies, and they
exactly
happen to all collide at the same
at such
time.
a critical government-owned company as GEBE, which is what they did at the time, to remove Mr. Chittick and his C-suite. So I think finding these positions not being hunted for, that's okay. But I'm hoping that it is not politicized any more than it already has been, because if we really and I hope that we stick to the profiles, you know, um, that we look for persons that not just have the technical experience but the management experience. That is something that, you know, even if you do, you can take a course, but you either have it or you don't, and that's why they do these types of psychology tests and to get into certain positions in certain companies. In the Netherlands, they do it here. I had to do it when I started at UTS. To make sure that you are competent enough to be able to deal with people,
Mm-hmm.
because at the end of the day, it's people that drive anything forward. And if you can't deal with people, then you can't do anything actually in any company. It doesn't matter your position. Your position does not dictate or determine whether the company is going to move forward. You often will find persons at a much lower managerial level than a C level who are able to rally persons better than the C level.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
what I have seen, and it's not to, again, and I think we take, when I say things like that, people automatically jump and say, but so you want to say Martina? I'm like, no, no. It's not that I don't want to see Martin in this role or anyone from St. Martin to progress into that role, but that should not be the only qualification we're looking for. That is not a competency. That's not a competency. It doesn't mean that you can manage people. It doesn't mean you can manage any, whether it's St. Martin as you're managing or whoever. And that's really what we have to look for. So I hope while they're on this hunt, I saw BDO is doing at least one of them, that they stick to the profiles, and that when it gets to the persons that make the ultimate decision, that they do not politicize it any further than it already has been.
Well, St. Martin, like you say, we're, psychological, emotional. We have everything going on for us right now. We have a pending storm passing us.
Yeah.
Also those things compile more the frustrations and concerns for the country of St. Martin. But David, as a politician going into a snap election, what kind of message would you convey to them to keep our community on the up
Hmm.
motivational inspirational level? Because already they're like, oh, snap elections and all these different crises going on and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then we got to think about who we're going to choose. And
Yeah.
what would you say
Good.
to our nation?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I have a friend, a good friend of mine who, yes, Hoslinga, shout out to him.
Mhm.
He came back to the island and he was passionate about sports.
Yeah, he works at the sports department.
Correct.
Mhm.
Well, he
Yeah.
used to. He used
Oh,
to. Yeah.
okay.
And I've taken a page from his book, which was namely, even though his starting salary there was like way less than he was making in Europe, he came, he focused, and he got to work, and he was passionate about it. And so in the last 4 years, I think if you ask anybody on the island that is involved in sports, how did the sports department do? They're gonna say great or much better, because he was passionate, he stayed focused, and he was solution oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, that has now he's now the NSI director, and now facilities are being maintained and things are happening there. So big shout out to him. Not to have that opportunity, and uh, that's a shining example of how things can go if you have the right person with the right attitude in the right place, and they focus and they're doing it for the community. And so
Right.
that is the type of politician that I have now decided to become as well. And I have aligned, and since then as well, with the party that I believe can embody that the best, and that is the PFP. And so, what I have set out to do, I don't know if you saw, but I am now very focused on solutions and helping persons with their problems, namely solar.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I gave a workshop on going solar. That
Oh,
one was
okay.
just like public, and there should be a recording of it soon. And I'm giving 3 workshops for businesses, along with credits to get a solar loan, and then they can buy a system and go, have renewable energy and have that energy security and energy independence.
So you're taking an initiative to take it a step further, solution oriented. Hey, this is happening. Okay, this is happening, but
Yeah.
let's look for other options, adapt, move forward.
Exactly, exactly. And I have a saying with that: first slowly, then surely. If GB doesn't want to do it, fine. We're gonna go do it.
Yeah.
You have to take that power back. You don't depend on other entities to govern your life in that sense. So I'm laser focused on that.
Mhm.
Together with the politics, of course, but trying to make a difference there, because I've also noticed the St. Martiner, they like, I think they really need right now a politician that is focused on solutions.
Yeah.
We don't want to hear about the problems. We know we know there's many. We know there are compounding problems. We're done with that. We don't need the name calling, the blame game. We don't need theatrics. We need solutions. That is what we are, where we're at. And that's why we as a party are focused on that, on rectifying the wrongs of the last 20,
Yeah.
30 years. And it's not a today for tomorrow process. It is a process. And so we do need, first of all, we need a mandate. We need, Sir Martin, we need your vote. That's one for sure. And then 2, we need time to make these things happen. You can't um, hoard a whole bunch of stuff into your house and then expect to clean it up in one day. I don't know if you've seen that show where they have boxes all the
Hoarders.
way.
No, I don't need to see the show.
Like you said, that's my
Yes,
personal experience.
I don't need to no said. No said. Ah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but so you can't make a massive mess of your
Yeah.
house and then expect to clean it up in one day. No,
It's
we'll
gonna
need
take time
time.
for sure.
We'll need to put in place the mechanisms
Mhm.
that will change our downward spiral, which we find ourselves in now, into an upwards one, where
Yeah.
we're um, progressing, where there's hope again, where we can be proud of our politicians. That's really where we need to get at.
All right, Melissa.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, we're out of time actually. So I will give you, your wrapping up words. Anything positive that you would like to convey to the listening audience.
Yeah.
Something that they should look forward to on behalf of Party for Progress, and why vote for Party for Progress.
Well, I think I've mentioned it before, but just to take a page out of what David just said, being solution oriented, and what he's doing with his initiative is, in a sense, creating power. You give that back to the people instead of hoarding it for yourself. And I think what we've seen, especially over the last 14 years, is persons that are more interested in hoarding power. They hold on to projects, they hold on to authority, they don't share it. That's something that we've even witnessed now coming into the ministry that we do hold, via Minister Patrice Gumbs, where
Rumi.
a lot of power in that ministry was concentrated at the top. And
Okay.
you have departments and department workers that do not feel empowered to take critical decisions, even though they know what needs to be done. And I think something that I've always tried to do, and shout out to my former colleagues at Flow who are tuning in, but if you know what has to be done and you can't find me to say yes or no, that's okay. Just do it. And I think that's something that we all also have to do for the general public. Like, we know what needs to be done, they know what needs to be done, and we're just trying to encourage them to choose differently and to empower themselves and come along with us as we try to create a government and a St. Martin where power is not hoarded at the top for a select few, but it is shared with everyone,
It
so that
trickles
everyone can
down.
step into their full potential as St. Martiners and help move the country forward.
All right. Well, I want to thank Party for Progress come August 19th. They are one of the parties that you can cast your vote for. And of course, I want to wish you best of luck
Thank
on
you.
Thank
your
you.
continued journey. MP Melissa Gums and David Salomon, candidate number 10. So good luck. And what is your slogan again?
Choose progress.
Choose progress.
Simple.